Welcome each and every one of you to the Storytime channel. My name is Steven, and today we have some malicious compliance stories. Our first story of the day is by ADrunkenScott. My teacher called my work bad and my attitude even worse. It then got featured in the biggest art gallery in the country. Context: the school I go to is well respected in my country, so it was not uncommon for venues to request to display a student's work or to ask for students to sing live for them. On the occasion in question, the largest art gallery in the country, Gallery X, had asked my school to submit inspired art to be out on display. The school agreed and said that they would submit 5 pieces of work, 1 piece per year for years 9 through 13. Back to the story. I hated art growing up, but it was a mandatory subject until you got to choose your subjects in year 10. Needless to say, I dropped the subject ASAP. Despite hating the subject, I still put effort into my work and some of it wasn't that bad. However, at the same time, I would not hide away from expressing my views when we were given a task that I didn't see a point to, even if the teacher was in earshot. Needless to say, my relationship with the art department faculty wasn't the best. My teacher at the time particularly had it in for me. He was one of those teachers that had the view that their subject should be your most important subject, regardless of your future ambitions. If he thought that you weren't prioritizing art, then he would make your life heck. Yet again, I hated art as a subject. He knew this, but I would still do any work set to the best of my ability. We had just finished a project where we had to mix different pigments to create our own unique color. Being colorblind, I struggled a lot as I literally could not differentiate between half of the pigments. I gave it my all, but ended up giving up halfway through the project. My teacher hated me for giving up. In his defense, he had tried to make it as easy as possible for me, but I hated the subject and saw a way out, so I took it. My teacher was beyond mad. When we went to hand the project in, he gave me a lecture about how I needed to put in more effort and work harder because of the quality of work was unacceptable. Remember, I literally couldn't see half of the project. Once that project was finished, my teacher told us that Gallery X had asked that we create some inspired art. We were basically shown 5 different paintings that we were supposed to recreate in our own way. There was a big fuss about this. People were saying that art schools would be giving out scholarships, that there was a $10,000 reward, and other nonsense that 14-year-olds make up. But nevertheless, everyone wanted to be the one to have their painting in Gallery X. So for the next month and a half in my art class, we would work on our piece. After the first week of working on my piece, the excitement of the new project wore off, and so did my eagerness in lessons. My teacher noticed this and went from complimenting my work to yelling at me about what I was doing wrong. By the 4th week, I was over the project and just wanted to be done with this. With 2 weeks left on the project, my teacher pulls me aside to tell me that my work isn't good enough and I need to improve it. I tried to improve, but he kept on belittling me. So out of arrogance and spite, I made art my most important subject until the end of this project. I dragged myself to each lesson, quietly working myself to the bone, counting down the days until the deadline of the project. After what seemed like a year to 14-year-old me, the second to last lesson arrives. This lesson was not for final touches or anything like that. My teacher had decided that he would review what each student has done well and where they could have improved. He walks around the classroom, complimenting everyone's work until he gets to mine. I don't remember exactly what he said, but I'm pretty sure none of it was positive. I do remember, however, how he finished talking about mine. "You can tell that OP hasn't given this any thought and hasn't taken this seriously." That stung like a witch because, yes, I had lost interest in it, but I had still worked hard in lessons and given it my best shot. The bell then went and I sulked out of the class with my tail between my legs. The last lesson finally comes and I can't wait to be over with this stupid project. The lesson was a big one too. The judges from Gallery X were coming to school to judge all of the work. They come into our class, do all the formalities, "These all look so good, I have no idea how we can decide on only one," etc. Then they start walking around the room, muttering to each other. The whole class is stood silently at the back, trying to hear what they are saying. They do a full lap of the room, then walk back over to my spot. I don't even notice this as I had tuned out after they had looked at the second painting. They then ask the teacher whose work they are stood over. He looks at them almost in disbelief as he gestures to me. I snap out of my daydream and just smile politely with no idea what is going on. The judges then confer for a while, whilst my teacher and I frantically try and figure out what is going on. Finally, after about 5 minutes of mumbling, they say that they want to shortlist it to potentially be shown in Gallery X. I look on at them in shock, then yet again smile politely and say thank you. I cannot begin to describe the look on my teacher's face. I don't think I have ever seen someone more confused, angry, and disappointed all at the same time. My teacher then begrudgingly thanks the judges and walks them to the door. He thanks them again as they leave, then stumbles back to the class. He doesn't even congratulate me on my work. He just defeatedly says, "Good work, everyone. As a reward, I'll put on a documentary for you all to watch." And he did just that, not saying another thing until the end of class. Later on that week, I got an email from Gallery X asking for my permission to display my work, of which I happily said yes to. To sum it up, the work that he disrespected and said that no effort was put into was selected from 192 others and got featured in the biggest art gallery in the country. Guys, you gotta let me know, if this was you, after all the basically crap talking you at your work ethic and the work itself, would you have gone to the teacher and said some extra words or some kind of jab or comment or something like that, just to see if it really gets under their skin? Let me know in the comments down below. I personally was a social pansy, so I probably wouldn't have, but I think a lot of people, and it sounds like OP would be the type of person, to maybe offer some kind words about the reality of the situation. Our next story is by xickennoogit. Mother-in-law insisted she wanted a drink, so I gave it to her. Mother-in-law never really liked me, because I got her adult son to move out of their home and have a good life. She's the type to question every success you have, all the while downplaying anything in your life. Honestly, I don't know why father-in-law is still with her. Yesterday was her daughter's birthday. I love her very much like my own sister, and although she can't have an extravagant 21st birthday, we planned a nice dinner at their home. We brought everything we needed as well as drinks. She is 21 after all. She requested we get some soju. Now, for those who don't know what that is, it's a popular Korean alcohol drink. It's in these bright green bottles packaged within this bright green box, usually plastered with portraits of cute girls looking like they love this drink. At a glance, it does not look like alcohol since American beers and such are more bland looking than this. Since their home basically had nothing for us to use for the meats we brought over, we had to go to the store a lot of times, including the birthday girl herself. We really tried to make the best of the situation, but the entire time, mother-in-law was running her mouth. "What? There's no soy sauce? What the heck?" says the woman sitting and playing on her phone, not helping us look. "Why would you move to a cheap place? What did you expect? Of course it's going to crap now," says the woman who never paid for her house. Father-in-law pays for everything. "Don't cook there, it's going to smell like meat," she says while we're cooking in the kitchen. What's the kitchen supposed to be used for? These are only a few examples of everything she said that night. Father-in-law was nowhere to be seen since she usually runs her mouth until he's had enough. I was mixing my concoction of soju, Yakult, and Sierra Mist by the time she hovers over to the kitchen. She asks me what I was doing with a grimace on her face. I say it's a Korean drink. "Why are you not making me one?" "Are you sure this isn't just a normal drink? It's..." "Stop excluding me, I want one," says the woman who basically sat through everything and complained the whole time. We did try to include her, but all we got were sarcasm and complaints. I roll my eye and start making her one, until I realized we got a flavored soju, meaning it literally tastes like juice. So you best believe I just dunked half a bottle in that cocktail and served it with minimal Yakult and Sierra Mist. She grumbles "That wasn't so hard, was it?" Every time she sees me head into the kitchen, she yells for me to make her another drink. Okay, I keep doing so. Father-in-law joins me in the kitchen and was reading the bottles. He looks at me with a raised brow, just in time for mother-in-law to yell for another drink. In her mind, she's asking me nicely, but really all we hear is screeching. I say, should I give her more? Father-in-law says, you heard her. Father-in-law shrugs with an evil grin. The nicest man was telling me to maliciously comply. Eventually, she starts to mellow out. No more yelling, no more complaints. Everyone was happy for the rest of the night. She actually was in such a good mood, she went upstairs and went to bed early. Such good mood, in fact, father-in-law joined us for movie night after dinner. Sister just messaged me today and said that night was by far the best night she's had. Let's just be thankful that they're a mellow drunk and not somebody that would turn into a much more belligerent person when a little tipsy. Our next story is by Eckx, Just Get It Done. Reminded by another story of the big box store that starts with W, this is my story of how I complied and got away with it. Worked in the back unloading the trucks. The hours at the time were 2 to 11 p.m. When we got there at 2 p.m., the supervisor had the day off and only 4 of us showed up. It's been several years, I don't remember if it was scheduling errors or just call-offs. We get a manager to pop the door to the truck and I pull the manifest and see it's a 2,500-piece truck. I look at her and say, we are going to need help, at least 3 more people. She says she will try to find someone and leaves us to get started. Lift the door to the truck and boxes start falling out. We get the line set up and start unloading. 1 person putting boxes on the line and the other 3 sorting them to where they go. Normally we had 6 people doing the same work that 3 were, so it was going to be a little slow. About 3 p.m., another manager comes through the back room and happens to check on the truck and is unhappy with the progress we have made. I explain the situation and again get the "I will see what I can do" answer. Whatever. Break at 4 p.m., and when we come back after 15 minutes, a 3rd manager is looking in the truck. He starts asking why it's been 2 hours and we are maybe 25% done with unloading. I explain that there are only 4 of us and we have asked for help at least twice now, and we are doing the best we can do. He says, I will try to find you help, but you all need to just get it done. He proceeds to vaguely threaten us with write-ups if we don't get the truck empty in an hour. I'm now mad, and 2 of the other people who were there were also mad, and the person who was in the truck didn't care, so we decided to just get it done. We started just throwing boxes. Didn't care what it was, they were grabbed and thrown in the general direction of the pallet they belonged to. Within 20 minutes, we had made a lot of progress on unloading, but there were now piles of boxes at least waist high and roughly 15 feet wide on each side of the line. Things that would normally be stacked neatly on pallets and carts were jumbled in a huge mess together. This is about when the women from personnel came through the back room with some things she needed to have shipped out. She took 1 look at the mess, turned around on her heel, and went to management. I thought that was the end of my job, but the co-manager, in between the store manager and assistant managers, came back, pulled me aside, and asked me what was going on. I explained everything to him, and he told me and the other 3 to just straighten up the mess. 15 minutes later, every person with the title manager in their name was in the back helping to unload the truck. Every single one. Every department manager, assistant manager, the co-manager, and the store manager. The last 50% of the truck took us about 30 minutes to unload, and I got an apology from the co- and store managers. 4 years, and that was the most work I saw almost any of them do. Totally worth it. Don't you just love that in this situation, OP and their coworkers needed just 3 more people to help out, and then 3 managers walk in, see that they're needing help, and walk out looking for other help. If those managers could just help the short-handed staff, everything would have been fine. But it had to go and bubble up into some totally impressive mess type thing. Only after the poop hit the fan did everybody come in droves to help out. And OP's lucky that they got an apology. That's impressive. This next story is by AceAroFudgeMuffin. Want mom to stop the car? Okay. This literally just happened. We were on our way back from school when my little brother's whining for our mom gets worse. He's tired and hungry and wants mom to pick us up. So he starts throwing a fit and demanding that I call her, which I do, since people is looking at this 13-year-old throwing a tantrum like a 5-year-old. So mom gets there and he starts screaming at her. How dare she not come get us? She recently said that we would have to walk to and from the bus stop every day and that she has to come get him. Mom says, I'm busy and have other things to do. Brother says, just stop the car then and drop us here. And just like that, she swings under the curb and slams on the brakes, refusing to go any further. I get out and start to walk since I like walking, but he goes into full-on tantrum mode, screaming and crying and whining and begging. But she keeps going and leaves him there, at the bottom of the steep road we live on. It takes him 10 minutes to walk home, as I ran ahead and he stayed there to cry. She drove up the hill and walked into the house, saying nothing. Screw that entitled, spoiled pig baby. If I was the parent, I would have done it a little bit differently. I would have gotten the little brother to get out and walk themselves up that hill to the house while I'm still in the car driving alongside them and refuse to drive them. Older brother should be able to stay right there and not have to walk, although they liked walking, so that doesn't really matter. Point is, the entitled child got exactly what they deserved. In the end though, that entitled child got exactly what they deserved. And our final story of the day is by JimmiRustle. You can have lunch after your shift. Happened today, not that big. I'm a volunteer in the National Reserve, and due to the resurgence in SARS-CoV-2 cases, I've been recently activated to assist in tasks of national interest. We work with exactly the same work as permanent employees. They are also on contract from the reserves but have been so since March, and on more or less the same terms. One exception is that our pay is by the hour and made to match the pay of the permanent employees if we work the same hours. Our lunch is also paid. Theirs is refunded. Now, I just pulled a shift from 07 to 18. I arrive about an hour early because I know they need people and I don't want to spend more time in traffic, which would be the case if I arrive later. So today, I was lucky enough to also get free dinner at the cantina because I've been working longer and more shifts than anybody else from the recent call on reserves. The self-declared team leader today was very adamant about me not going ahead of our appointed time slot of 18 to 18:45, even though the kitchen opens at 1700 and my shift ends at 18. Well, fine then. After I'm done working, I walk over to the cantina and have my dinner before checking out at the HQ. If I can't have my dinner until my shift is over, I might as well get paid for the overtime. Next day, I arrive early again. After checking in, I walk to the new building. Previous day, the shift manager had told me to go there instead. I only got around to making some tea when some guy with seniority calls me and the other emergency service people back. The deal is that we start work at 9. So we're staying for a briefing which is targeted at people who haven't been there before. Well, I am fine playing on my laptop for 2 hours while I am still checked in and getting paid. It's almost as though the more organized things get the more stupid it succumbs to. So let me get this straight. They wanted OP to work an 11-hour shift without any meal breaks? They wanted them to just check out? OP deserved to go to the cantina and get that overtime meal break. 11-hour shifts with no breaks? Yikes. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So if you had a favorite story of the day, let me know which story and why in the comments down below. But besides that, if you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like and subscribe if you haven't. Also, please consider turning on notifications so you'll never miss an upcoming video too. No matter what you did, whether it was viewing the video, liking, commenting, subscribing, thank you all so very much for supporting the Storytime channel. Every little thing that you guys do helps the channel grow more and more every single day, and I appreciate the heck out of it. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you all next time right here.